Good morning, everyone. Welcome to the regular meeting of the Multnomah County Board of Commissioners. Audience members, I want to start by asking you to please silence your electronic devices. I would also like to remind you that in addition to the audience in this room, we have people watching and listening online, so please consider your language in comments and testimony today. Today's meeting is a hybrid board meeting. Some presenters and guests will appear in person and some will appear virtually. For those presenting virtually, please mute your mic when not speaking, and when presenting, make sure to unmute your mic and turn on your camera. For those joining us in person to provide public testimony or present, please turn your mic on when you begin speaking so the green light is showing, and off when you've completed your remarks so the red light is showing. And for all presenters, please state your name for the record before speaking or responding to questions. May I have a motion on the consent calendar?
So moved.
Second.
Commissioner Brim Edwards moves. Commissioner Moyer seconds. All those in favor, please say aye. Aye. The consent calendar is approved.
Opportunity for public comment on non-agenda matters. This is the time for the board to hear public testimony, not for board deliberation. When it is your turn to speak, I'll call your name and unmute you, or call you to the presenter's table. I'll set a timer for 3 minutes when you begin speaking and announce when your time is up, at which point please wrap up your sentence. Chair, we have 5 people signed up for verbal testimony. I'll call 4 folks at a time. Injured and pissed off. Anna Azikani, Sophie Abessian, and Connor Smith.
My name's Injured and Pissed Off. In 5 days, I'll be 9 years old officially. In Injured and Pissed Off years, chronologically, I'll be almost 72 years old in March. Old age, when does it occur? 10 years old, maybe 20 years old, maybe 30, maybe 40, maybe 50, maybe 60. Nobody's answering. Maybe 70. I looked up on Google what old age is. It said from 65 up is what old age is. And real old age, I guess, is like in the 80s, where people have mobility problems and things. Well, I've had mobility problems and chronic pain for the last 15 plus years. That was after 7 dog attacks on my service animal that the county and state allowed to happen. Because the city owns the property that I used to live in, and the county regulates the animal control services. They've had nothing but trouble with animal control services over the years with the people operating it, but they did nothing. In fact, they've had people complaining last year that worked here. Animal control services. And if you look up my name, Who's Injured and Pissed Off, it documents it. And trying to remember. Harvest Homes is a care facility that I'm being transferred to, and I don't think I want to go. As I explained, I've been injured for the last 15 years, and I lived in Portland since 2004. I had to get an attorney, Oregon Legal Aid, to even get into housing because the HAP said that, which Housing Authority of Portland, Multnomah County Board of Commissioners is in partnership with them. That they said that no dog could weigh more than 25 pounds. Well, my service animal, he was 4 years old and he had to have weighed near 60. My time's up.
Thank you. Good morning.
Hi, my name is Sophie and I'm here to talk about the Multnomah County Animal Services. Thank you for hiring a 3rd veterinarian at MCAS. We are hoping this will increase the level of medical attention for animals and to increase the spays and neuters. Do the commissioners and the public know that MCAS adopts out unaltered dogs. While it may seem like more dogs are getting altered in the past few weeks, we looked at a sample of records from January 13th to January 19th and found a total of 16 adoptions. 11 of those were adopted out unaltered, with only one being put on a list for a future neuter at MCAS. It is negligent for a shelter to adopt out unaltered pets. MCAS also has a restricted use donation account called the Spay and Neuter Fund to be used for spays and neuters for animals in the community and in their care. As of December 17th, 2025, the balance in that fund was $69,040. MCAS has chosen not to use this money to fund spay and neuter clinics to help people in our community in financial need. So in addition to opting out unaltered animals into the community, MCAS is also not helping the community with an account meant for this purpose. We looked at the organizational chart for the Animal Health Department and noticed that it has changed. It shows 3 veterinarians and all the techs report to the program supervisor. The supervisor does not have a vet license. MCAS used to have a job opening and description for a medical director, which requires a vet license. It seems this position was replaced by a program supervisor role that does not carry the same requirements. We don't believe this is in the best interest of the animals. We continue to ask for a medical director to be hired as the head of animal health. MCAS also used to have a Pets in Crisis program. This program's intention was to provide emergency boarding for up to 30 days for the pets of citizens experiencing loss of housing, hospitalization, incarceration, etc. For the fiscal year 2018, MCAS was able to board 45 animals under this program. For reasons unknown, this program was terminated. Now, anyone who has been incarcerated or hospitalized has the typical stray hold period of 144 hours for microchipped animals and 72 hours for non-microchipped animals to reclaim their pet. This is not enough time for someone who is hospitalized or incarcerated to figure out who can take care of their pet. In the past few weeks, we have noticed a few more exceptions being made to the typical stray hold time, but these are done as just that, exceptions to the rule. Azul was a 5-year-old pit bull mix whose owner was arrested. He was brought to the shelter on January 9th. Over the past few days, attempts to contact the people the owner authorized to reclaim Azul were unfruitful, and Azul was killed on January 18th, 2026. We are requesting the Pets in Crisis program be reinstated because Azul didn't need to die.
Thank you. Good morning.
Hello, my name is Connor Smith, and I'm here to talk about Multnomah County Animal Services. Mella was an 8-year-old pit bull mix. She first came to the shelter in February 2024 when her owner was arrested. She was very scared and anxious to the point where staff did not feel safe handling her for an exam or for walks. By day 5, she would allow some handling, especially when staff had cheese. On her medical exam on day 9, the tech wrote that Mella had made so much progress, but noted that she still needed time to be comfortable with shots. By day 10, she had settled in, was going on walks, and even rolled on her back, soliciting belly rubs from her handler. Her owner eventually reclaimed her, but she was back in the shelter 2 months later under protective custody when her owner was charged with animal abuse and other related crimes. She was retrieved from Dove Lewis wearing a cone for safety and given shots upon arrival with the cone. There are no behavior notes from her first week back, but the second week notes describe her as having a loose belly, wagging tail, enjoying pets, and easy to slip a lead, especially with cheese. Her foster notes the following week describe her as delightful, affectionate, well-mannered, friendly to visitor, and very food-motivated. MCAS decided to move forward with an adoption. She was adopted and returned Tice because of incompatibility with the resident dog. In August 2024, she was reclaimed by her very first owner with the caveat of having no contact with the owner charged with animal abuse. 1 year later, on December 17, 2025, Mella was found abandoned by a third owner and was transferred to MCAS. On her medical exam that same day, she was described as social and accepting treats and pets, but would bare teeth when the tech tried to give her a shot. On December 30th, Mella's behavior notes state that she would greet her handler with a loose belly, body, and tail wags, and took hot dogs from their hands gently. When asked to go for a walk, Mella began body wiggles with her tail wagging faster and walked right into the slip lead. Once back to the kennel, Mella was affectionate with her handler, accepting all contact. The notes from the following days are all uniformly positive, describing her as accepting all contact with a loose body and no handling sensitivity. On January 3rd, Animal Health discontinued her behavior meds as Mella had shown friendly and handleable behavior and was exhibiting low FAS, fear, anxiety, and stress. On January 5th, her behavior notes stated accepted all pets on her head, ears, chin, cheeks, neck, back, body, and tail, and that she was playful and affectionate throughout. On January 7th, Rounds of You met and decided to move forward with euthanasia due to extreme reaction to safety risks with medical treatments. Mello was killed on January 8th, 2026. Mello's documented patterns at MCS show she had eventually let down her guard in a stressful shelter environment. On her third time back to the shelter, she only had one medical exam the first day. No further medical treatments were attempted. We believe MCS's decision to euthanize her is justifiable. Anyway, thank you for your time today.
Thank you. Good morning.
Hi, my name is Anna, and I'm here to talk about Multnomah County Animal Services. Noelle was a 6-month-old, 40-pound shepherd puppy. She was found as a stray on December 9th. Her intake notes describe her as jumpy, wiggly, excited, loose, soliciting attention, allowing all handling and restraints, and mouthing hands when handling her face. She was put up for adoption on December 12th and adopted the next day. She was returned 4 days later on December 17th for biting. The adopter stated she gets wild and starts biting harder and was impossible to control. She seems very sweet, but then almost like she's bored, she starts biting. She's 6 months old. She said Noelle ripped her daughter's pant leg, bit her friend who stuck his fist in her mouth, and bit her twice. She said only the last bite, which was that day, broke skin. The bite was neither observed nor photographed by staff, which I believe is MCS's protocol. Noelle was put on a 10-day bite quarantine, which usually means limited human interaction and no walks. Once the quarantine ended on December 30th, MCS started seeking transfer options. On January 1st, her notes describe her as jumpy, mouthy, but easily redirected and zigzaggy. On January 2nd, she was spayed. On January 4th, her behavior notes state she was jumpy but responded well to commands and mouthed the handler gently once or twice but stopped on her own accord. She sat on command, accepted contact all over, and just wanted to play. On January 6th, notes state that she was jumpy, excited, mouthy, but responded well to commands and was soliciting pets all over, wanting to play. The same day, Rounds Review met and recommended euthanasia due to biting history. Noelle, a 6-month-old puppy, was killed on January 8th, 2026. We want to know who is on Rounds Review. We want transparency in the public record with names for each Rounds Review. The citizens of Multnomah County are trusting our shelter to take care of these animals, ensuring their safety first by properly placing them with screened adopters, and second, not punishing dogs when adopters fail. In the past, MCAS externally contracted with a behaviorist and trainers, some that went into adopters' homes to help them with their newly adopted dog. Why does MCAS no longer do that? We are now in 2026. The animal shelter in Portland, Oregon should be a model for all other shelters across the country. I spoke to someone else who met Noelle to adopt her. She had dog handling experience and said when Noelle would mouth or jump on her, she would say no, and Noelle listened right away. She said she was easily able to redirect her. When she called the next day, Noelle was already adopted. When she learned that Noelle was returned, she called back and was told that Noelle was euthanized for a severe biting incident. Is what I described a severe biting incident? Do you think that was true? Is that what management needs to tell themselves, or is that what they want us and the public to believe? Because the truth is that MCAS killed a puppy for being a puppy, and they put a bite on her record without evidence. But what is also interesting is why spay her if you're going to kill her? That makes no sense when they adopt out unaltered dogs every day. We want new management at the shelter.
Thank you.
Next, we have Lightning.
Good morning.
Yes, my name is Lightning. I represent Lightning Super, We the People for All the People Lab. Now again, following the discussion on the Multnomah County Animal Services Shelter, I would like to see a pet chaplain hired to really do an overview of the euthanasias and how the animals are being treated, and to report back to you directly on that. I think it's very beneficial to have a pet chaplain also discussing with volunteers, coming forward with all the information provided to them and then giving you a report back on what they think on each and every animal that is euthanized. And I think that would be the proper thing to do with these people coming forward. And if you have any concern for the animals over there. Now, again, getting back to the Elon Musk suing OpenAI lawsuit, again, I think that's going to be one of the biggest lawsuits that we ever see. And it is going to go to jury sometime in April. It's going to involve, like I say, Microsoft, Sam Altman, Greg Brockman. And what's going to be interesting about that lawsuit is that what could really sink OpenAI, believe this or not, is a diary that Greg Brockman kept. And now they have that, and they're going over everything that he put in that diary, and it is really looking really bad for OpenAI. Could cost them $50 to $150 billion because someone kept a diary of everything that they wanted to see happen, even pertaining to Elon Musk being pushed aside out of the company. OpenAI has a big problem with that diary, and I would highly recommend Bill Gates that you settle this immediately, because it's going to be an embarrassing situation if you push forward on this. Now, again, pertaining to the ICE agents, you've lost all credibility, legitimacy. Anything you say doesn't have any merit. Normally, when that happens, you get shut down. Normally. So why they're just transferring them to the other states? And remember one thing to the ICE agents, and I'll make this perfectly clear to you. There is no statute of limitations on murder. And don't ever forget that. There is no statute of limitations on murder. And when you have professionals analyzing this video and audio and coming back and saying that you murdered this protester, this ICU nurse that worked at Veteran Affairs, that you murdered him, I would get very nervous right now.
Thank you.
Chair, that is all the non-agenda public testimony that we received for today. I'll move on to R1.
Thank you.
R1, resolution acknowledging receipt of the Multnomah County Annual Comprehension Financial Report and schedule of expenditures of federal awards for a year end June 30th, 2025.
So moved.
Commissioner Brum Edwards moves, Commissioner Singleton seconds, approval of R1. Good morning. Today we take up an item that comes to us every year, the county's annual comprehensive financial report. The resolution before us acknowledges the receipt of this report, which is for the fiscal year that ended on June 30th, 2025, and accepts the findings within the report. Quality and transparent fiscal practice is an important value at the county, and auditing is an integral part of this work. I look forward to hearing the results presented today by our auditing committee. Thank you for being here today, and thank you for the fine work you've undertaken on behalf of Multnomah County. With that, I'm glad to see our audit committee folks and some of our auditing partners up here, and I will turn it over to Eric Ariano, CFO for Multnomah County.
Good morning, Chair. For the record, Eric Ariano, Chief Financial Officer, and good morning, Commissioners. So I have with me Ashley Austin with Baker Tilly, a partner with our external auditors, and then Shawnee Harris Bagwell, which is our audit committee chair this morning. We're here, like you said, to acknowledge the completion of the annual comprehensive report for the fiscal year ended June 30th, 2025, and also the external audit report, which also includes the single audit, which is the audit of federal expenditures for the year. So this morning, very similar to what I've done in prior years, I'll do a short intro, then I'll pass it over to our audit committee chair to provide some information around the audit committee process this cycle, and then the majority of the 30 minutes that we have today will be to actually go through the audit scope, the audit process, and the audit results that Ashley Austin will go through in a presentation this morning. And then after that, I will come back because I want to do a few acknowledgments for the folks that helped produce this effort. Then we'll open up for questions and comments. And then finally, I'm going to ask the board to approve a resolution to essentially acknowledge the completion of the financial reports and then the audit and then to direct my office to resolve any findings or any applicable recommendations related to the audit process of this cycle. So also just wanted to note some technicalities is that we're required to file when we issue our financial statements, which is on December 13th. We're required to file with the state, and then we're required for the single audit, which again, it's the audit of federal expenditures. We're required to file with the federal government, and then also because we have outstanding bonds, as part of continuing disclosures, we're required to file our financial statements with the Municipal Securities Standards Board, which they have an access portal where we have to file our financial statements. And all those elements are complete for this cycle. So the first thing I just wanted to say is that, and Ashley will talk about it in more detail, but we have an unmodified opinion, which is a clean audit for the audit of the financial statements. It's good news, and I just want to emphasize that it's easy to say, but there's a lot of work that goes into doing this. It's throughout the whole year, and it's efforts that happen at the department all the way through central finance. So big thank you to department folks that have good practices, have good controls, and support us through the annual closing process and that help us through the audit process throughout the year. So good news. Again, Ashley will talk about it more in detail around the elements of the unmodified opinion. The financial statements, like I say every year, are important document that the county produces that provides a detailed reporting of our resources, our expenditures for the year, information on our assets and liabilities, and has various disclosures that are informational around what the county actually did, but also to assess the financial health of the organization at a given point in time in this document. So I'm going to go through this morning's not meant to go through the actual highlights necessarily of the financial statements, but I always encourage the board to, if you want to have questions around this, want to follow up, I'm glad to have one-on-ones to go through some of the details, what's specifically in here. I'm still going to go through a few highlights, just to hopefully encourage that curiosity in terms of looking at this document. But this is the document here that we produce. I think I wanted to highlight that this year we always try to do every other year. We try to have an image on the front of the financial statements that is related to services that we're providing, clients that we're providing. That's something that our Deputy CFO Cora really emphasized we should do every other year, which I really support. In this cycle, we have an image of Preschool for All site, and so we actually coordinated with Preschool for All team, specifically Brooke, which is now on Christian's team, but really appreciative of just helping us through that process. Like I said, a couple highlights, and I'll keep it pretty short, is in 25 was the last year that we completely spent our ARPA funds. Very little that we had in 25, but that's completely spent. That's the money that we got a few years ago. We got a little bit less than 158 million. That was fully expended. Our federal expenditures were a little bit above 93 million, which is a decrease from a little bit over 100 million in the prior year. And this is mostly reflective of kind of COVID area dollars kind of diminishing and going away. We just didn't get money from ARPA. We got a lot of funds through ARPA, through other governments and other agencies. And so that's kind of really diminished, reducing our total expenditures on with federal funds. A couple other things I want to highlight is our pension obligation went up about $90 million for the year. That was primarily due with assumed interest earnings at the PERS pool level were less than expected, which drove up our pension obligation above $700 million. For capital expenditures, the library project spent about $115 million for fiscal year 25, which is actually a slight decrease from fiscal year 24, but still pretty high. And that's just reflective that I think the library project is kind of entering the last stages, the last phases of the project. And so I think they're scheduled to be fully complete in early fiscal year 27. So we'll expect those expenditures to continue to decrease over the next year as well. For Preschool for All, expenditures went up about 39%, almost 40%. I think we spent a little bit under $100 million, a continuation of ramping up of the program. For supportive housing, we had an increase of about year to year from 24 to 25, about 50%, and a little bit over $200 million spent for supportive housing for the year. We did not issue any additional debt in fiscal year 25. Our outstanding debt obligations went down by about 12% for the year. We met all our reserve requirements in alignment with county financial and budget policies, so all those requirements were met. And then we implemented 2 accounting standards in fiscal year 25, which Ashley I think we'll touch upon for the year. And then I think the other thing I just wanted to mention is I say this every year, and I really value this aspect, is that I think historically prior boards and this board have always kind of put a high importance on producing quality financial statements, having a quality audit process that is responsive. We're a huge organization, and sometimes findings come up, and that's because we're a complicated organization. I think the key is to make sure that those findings are relatively immaterial, and if we do have findings, is that we resolve them as soon as possible, because we're an organization that's accountable, transparent, and that we're responsive to when issues do arise with our organization from a financial reporting perspective, from an internal control perspective. The other thing I wanted to highlight is that every year we submit with the GFOA, Government Financial Officers Association, for the award for financial reporting excellence, and we submitted for fiscal year 24, and we received the award for the 40th year in a row, and we plan to submit for 25 as well. Just wanted to note that's an important thing to make sure that we follow best practices from year to year, and those standards obviously evolve over time, and to make sure that we're in alignment with the latest, greatest things that are happening across the country in terms of standards for governments in terms of financial reporting. So again, I will leave it there. I'll pass it over to Shawnee, but after Ashley's presentation, I'll come back and do some acknowledgements. Shawnee?
Hey, y'all.
Good morning.
Hi, good morning. Chair Vega Peterson, Commissioners Moyer, Singleton, Brim Edwards, and Jones Dixon. Thank you for the opportunity to speak today. I'm here in my role as chair of Multnomah County Audit Review Committee, and for the last time. I have served on the committee for several audit cycles, including the most recent one as chair. So I've seen the process from just about every angle. And this year's audit stood out, and not in a way that makes the chair start rethinking all of her life choices. I'm here to speak briefly about the process, because process matters, and this one worked. We received regular updates, the information was clear, and questions were answered directly. That may sound simple, but when your entire committee is made up of people whose job is to question everything, simple and functional is a real achievement. As many of you commissioners already know, I ask a lot of questions. I'm also only one in a room full of people who ask a lot of questions. Put that together and you have what I like to think of as a very thorough stress test for any audit. This year, that test held up. Questions were welcomed, not rushed. Committee members were given the time and space to review the data, follow the logic, and actually understand what we were being asked to approve. This was a strong audit, and I'll say it twice because accuracy deserves emphasis. This was a strong audit. That reflects well on the county staff, the external auditors, and everyone involved making sure the work could withstand scrutiny. The outcome is straightforward. Taxpayers deserve clarity about where their money goes, and this audit provided that clarity. I serve and have served on this committee as a volunteer, no compensation, just commitment and opinions. I often joke that I do this for fun, and while I'm still not sure I understand what fun is, I am sure that my time on this committee has been valued and respected. As I term out of the Audit Review Committee and step away as chair, I want to say this plainly. It has been an honor to serve, and I leave confident in both the process and the people who will carry this work forward. On behalf of the Audit Review Committee, thank you and goodbye.
Thank you so much for your service, Anshani. It's been wonderful having your expertise in this role.
Okay. All right. Well, good morning, Chair. Good morning, Commissioners. My name is Ashley Austin. I'm a principal with Baker Tilly. I won't be able to be as lively as Shawnee. That's a hard act to follow. But I am here to deliver the 2025 audit results. So if you go to the next slide, before we dive into our agenda, I just wanted to call out that when we met with you last year, the firm's name was Moss Adams. We are now Baker Tilly. We merged together. Moss Adams and Baker Tilly came together in June of 2025. It's really a combination of two very focused on the middle market firms, and to really deliver to our clients more excellent service, additional solutions that you may need, and just allow us to focus on bringing the best to our clients. Just a couple of notes about the combination there. Our Moss Adams CEO, Eric Miles, is now the CEO of Baker Tilly overall. So while it does seem that we did lose our name, Moss Adams RIP, we are now still led by the same individual that Moss Adams was led by. We're still focused on governments. It is, in fact, one of the third largest industry groups in the new firm, and we're still committed to serving you as the commissioners, and I'm excited to be here to talk to you about the results. So I'll go over our service team. Obviously, I'm just here to talk to you today, but it wasn't just me that serviced your account this year. I'm followed by a lot of people that helped get the audit over the finish line, talk about questions and answers on the audit process, a few questions that we think that the commissioners would want to know the answers to, and then a highlight about the communications with those charged with governance, which is the audit committee, which Shawnee was representing. I'll just go through some quick highlights there. So go to the next slide. A few lovely ladies up there that I'm supported by. So I served as your engagement reviewer, overall partner over the engagement. You'll see my individual signature on your opinion due to regulations in Oregon. I'm just overall responsible. Amanda Moore served as a concurring reviewer and principal. She sits in our Medford location. She picks up certain things in our file as well as the financial statements and does a technical review. She's the cold reviewer, quality control reviewer, and she's great. And she provides excellent comments on your financial statements and helps them meet the GFOA award. Kelly Jones is a senior manager. She helps supervise our staff, supervise and direct the audit process, as well as do some independent delegated review of work papers in our file, and just helps communicate with both management and me. And then Alice Rakiki, she's a manager with our IT compliance group, and she serves as the main manager that helps lead the IT effort for the county. If you go to the next slide. So the first question is, what does an audit of the county entail? And there's 5 different areas where we focus on. So that first bucket is just an independent verification of transactions and balances. So we are looking at invoices, we're looking at source documentation, we're looking at bank statements, we're pulling hard documents and looking at them while we're in your county offices. We're verifying balances with third parties. This looks like confirming accounts with financial institutions, confirming debt balances. We're also performing an analytical review, an inquiry. So we do substantive analytical procedures, which usually looks like a trend or an average of prior years. And if things don't meet our expectation, then we're asking questions, corroborating those answers with looking at additional hard data, invoices, things like that. And then substantive testing procedures, which is just the show me portion of the audit. So it's, again, looking at invoices and substantive information. We're also evaluating the effectiveness of your internal controls. So we're reviewing those key controls that if they failed, they would cause a material error or weakness in your financial reporting controls. We're looking at controls in both your financial reporting process, your property tax process, payroll, disbursements, all kinds of revenue just to verify that those are operating and effectively designed. We're testing them if we feel like we can rely on those controls, and then reporting any control weaknesses to you. And then we're testing compliance with federal and state laws. As Eric mentioned, you are required to comply with both federal single audit standards and then also Oregon minimum standards because you are an Oregon municipal corporation. Oregon minimum standards requires that we test the budget adoption process as well as procurement and various other items. And then there's federal grants compliance testing under the uniform guidance as well. If you go to the next slide. The two final items in this what does an audit of the county entail is a technical review of the financial statements. So we're making sure that all of the balances that we've audited and our audit work papers support what's included in the county's financial statement and ACFR. We're also making sure that those financial statements meet all those technical bells and whistles of GAAP, state, legal, and GFOA award requirements, and that the supplementary information, all those budget to actual documents are presented accurately as well in relation to the financial statements. And then finally, we report the audit results. So we did have regular check-ins with the internal auditors while we were on site during our fieldwork process. We had a lot of conversations with finance staff. We're here 4 days a week, so we talk to them pretty frequently. We had an exit meeting with the audit committee, which I'll summarize at the end, and then finally, in the process, we report to you. If you go to the next slide. So are the financial statements accurate? So we do perform a risk-based audit approach, so we do look at your financial statements and determine what areas are the most risky and focus our efforts there. We test internal controls for effectiveness, perform substantive testing, look at the financial statements, and what are the results? The results are, as Eric already mentioned, you received an unmodified opinion on your financial statements, meaning your financial statements are presented fairly in accordance with U.S. generally accepted accounting principles. That's what you want to hear as commissioners. It's a clean opinion. Eric did mention the county did adopt 2 new accounting standards, GASB Statement 101, compensated absences, and GASB Statement 102, certain risk disclosures. There was no modification in your opinion about the adoption of those standards because they were overall immaterial to your financial statements overall. GASB Statement 101 was the more significant of the 2. It did require the county to take a look at your sick leave and determine of the sick leave that has been earned by your employees, how much of that sick leave are you going to pay out over the course of the next however many years, and record a liability related to that amount. It wasn't material, like I said, so we didn't modify our opinion for it. GASB Statement 102, certain risk disclosures, requires the county to look at certain concentrations and constraints that may have a significant impact on the county, and it's a disclosure-only standard, and there were no additional disclosures required as a result of the adoption of that standard. If you go to the next slide. So the third question is, did the county comply with applicable federal and state laws and regulations? Again, similar to the procedures related to the financial statements, we're performing a risk assessment to identify those required compliance requirements that we need to test. And then we're also performing compliance testing over federal grants and, of course, state laws in relation to the Oregon municipal standards. In terms of the results for the Oregon minimum standards, there were no control findings, no compliance findings. This is where you would see any sort of budget over expenditure be called out. If there was a procurement item that didn't meet the requirements of ORSs, that would be reported here as well. As you can see, it was a clean opinion. And the single audit, we did test 3 major programs this year, so 3 buckets of funding. The first was Health Center, then we also tested the WIC program and LIHEAP, which is Low Income Home Energy Assistance Program. And as a result of that testing, which I will call out, there's no materiality in that testing. Anything that is over 50 cents, we have to look at. We potentially need to test more. We're looking at payroll items, allowable costs, reporting, subrecipient monitoring, eligibility, especially in terms of the WIC program. There's various compliance requirements that we are required to test. I will say it's a miracle sometimes when there's no findings. So no control findings over compliance reported, and no compliance findings were included in that report. And I will also just call out that we did have 1 finding last year, and that was obviously cleared and was not repeated in the current year. You go to the next slide. Finally, did the audit identify any fraud, waste, or abuse? Again, we evaluated those key control cycles. We also do an internal brainstorming session as an engagement team without management to identify fraud risk areas that we're seeing in other county governments, or just things that we know about based on our understanding and talking with management or reading the newspaper, those types of things. We also interview individuals throughout the county, including those that may not have a direct impact on financial close and reporting. And the results are the testing didn't uncover any reportable matters of fraud, waste, or abuse during the audit. The next slide is really highlighting our communications with the audit committee. So we did have an in-depth discussion with them in December. We went through all of our required communications, and there was a slide deck that you could request if you were interested in the nitty-gritty details of what we discussed there. We didn't, some high-level items that we think that you would want to know. There were no audit adjustments, so no corrected or uncorrected audit adjustments. And as a reminder, a corrected audit adjustment is one that the management provides us with their trial balance. We have a corrected audit adjustment that needs to be corrected in order for management to receive a clean opinion. So there were none of those. And then there were no uncorrected audit adjustments, and uncorrected would be an adjustment that we identified that's over our findings threshold, but management can pass on it because it's overall immaterial to the financial statements as a whole. None of those either. So what that tells you as county commissioners is that you can rely on the information that management brings to you in terms of financial reporting because there were no audit adjustments to that trial balance. There were no difficulties encountered in performing our audits, so no difficulties obtaining information or getting access to individuals that we wanted to talk to, and no disagreements with management about an accounting or auditing matter either. Go to the next slide. I have my own acknowledgements to provide. We had regular communications, as I mentioned, between us, county management, staff. They're great. We're here for quite a long time. We spent a lot of time in your conference room on the 5th floor. We also meet with the county auditors pretty regularly throughout field work. Everyone was super responsive, very professional, fulfilled all of our requests in a timely manner. And the tone at the top was just that they were open to any questions that we had, open to any discussion points that we might bring up, and they're just great to work with. So just wanted to thank Eric and his team and open it up for any questions.
Thank you so much. Really appreciate this. Eric?
I just wanted to do a few acknowledgements from my side, and just for the record, I still haven't adopted the name very well with Baker. I keep calling it Moss Adams, but I'll get there.
Moss Adams, it's okay.
I'll get there. No, I just wanted to I said it earlier, I really think department staff, this is an effort across the organization, not just central finance. So all our finance and budget directors in each department and their staff that help us through the audit process, but also just conducting business throughout the year, right? To get a good audit result, it takes the day-to-day work, the good work. So super appreciative of that. And I'm just gonna highlight a few names from the departments just because I'll highlight the names that we bother the most. And unfortunately, it's the big departments. So like Robert Stoll from DCHS, Antoinette Payne from HSD, and Derek Moten from the Health Department. But every finance and budget director is super appreciative. But for those departments, unfortunately, they get a lot of sample requests, and that they never complain. So I appreciate that. And the timing's never good either when we ask them for stuff. But they never complain. Also wanted to obviously appreciate some of the central folks, our county treasury group, our central accounts payable group, our workday support group that really helps us through the closing process. Payroll, maybe I mentioned that. The budget office obviously is really supportive through the process, especially with the Oregon minimum standards. And then big thanks to the auditor's office with Anna Marie and Jennifer throughout the whole process. They're supportive and guiding us through it, and facilitating the audit committee. And the audit process goes from the spring all the way to the winter, so it's a long process. So super appreciative to the internal auditor's office. Also wanted to thank Commissioner Brem Edwards. She serves on the audit committee, and it is a time commitment. We don't always talk about the most interesting topics on the audit committee, But I will say this last year, we've had the most engaged audit committee that I've been part of. I think we even spent like 20, 30 minutes on an accounting standard at one of our meetings. So that was pretty exciting for us. So super appreciative of commissioners' time, as well as obviously the audit committee chair, Shani, that has many years of service with our audit committee. I really wanted, and we have some folks here that I wanted to highlight. I think we do this every year and by name. I'm really super appreciative of the team that actually puts together the financial statements and manages the whole audit process. Cora Bell, our deputy CFO, which I believe is on this side of the room, she kind of oversees the whole process from the spring all the way through the winter period, and super high quality of production and standards that she maintains. Also wanted to thank our former accounting manager, Sammy Gillum. She's no longer here, she retired. She actually retired right before the summer, but she's somebody that has almost 40 years of public service that said, you know what, I want to help you close out the year. I want to help make sure that you actually get your audit done. And she stayed on until we issued. I think the day after issuance, she actually formally retired. So if she is listening, super appreciative of Sammy Gillum, many years of service with Multnomah County. But also wanted to thank the individual staff that actually do the detailed work every day. That's in the general ledger group and our fiscal compliance group, and I think they're on this side of the room. And I'll just name them: Rhonda Brantley, Stella Suzy, Matthew Dames, Jacob Small, Don Condry, Rhoda Skinner, Holly Benjamin, Alex McCober, and Luke Donaldson. Really want to thank them for their work. And also wanted to thank a former General Ledger staff member that fortunately passed away last year. That was a vital part of our group, Mike Rogers. I really want to thank him for his dedicated service to Multnomah County for all his years that he was with us, and a really important part of our team and our General Ledger group, and obviously upheld the standards that we have around how we do business in Multnomah County. So I'll stop there, open it for any questions or comments.
Thank you so much. So we do have somebody sign up for public testimony. Before we do that, though, I would love everyone who has worked on this audit report and supported this work to please stand up so we can acknowledge you. Just really appreciate you all being here today and for all the effort that has gone into this. And Auditor McGurk, I know that you and your team are here too if you want to stand up, because I know the support is great. Thank you all so much for this. All right, so we do have a public testimony, so we'll do that, and then we'll go to board questions or comments.
We have Lightning signed up.
Yes, my name is Lightning. I represent Lightning Super, we the people for all the people. To all the IRS agents listening to this, when's the last time you've had a perfect audit? No waste, fraud, and abuse. When's the last time you've ever seen that? It's totally impossible. And on that document itself, I'd like to request that a copy of that be made and provided at the Central Library for the public to review everything that you've done on that audit. And if there's a reason why you do not want to do that, please let me know. I think that's beneficial to the public to review everything in that document. Again, if you could also provide the actual contract that you signed between the county to Baker Tilly. I'd like to review everything that's in that contract to have an understanding just how far you will go on claiming that there is something that they're doing that is inappropriate, possibly even criminal, and how you handle those circumstances. Again, you have a perfect audit. You're just perfect. Multnomah County, you're perfect. Boy, I wish I was that way. but I'm just not that fortunate. Now, getting back to the property tax assessments, we have so many variations on that, on values changing so fast. I want to have a clear understanding from the auditors on how that's going to affect the finances for the next 5 years. We're seeing buildings that are literally being almost given away for under their land values, okay? It's going to have a serious effect on the financial situation here. And again, your expenses have gone up extensively in many different areas. And again, you have no waste, fraud, and abuse, which is, I guess, good for your credit rating, your AAA credit rating. But obviously, I think that's completely impossible to even do on a county of this size with a $4 billion budget, not to have some type of a waste, fraud, and abuse issue that would be brought forward to the public by auditors. Absolutely impossible. And I'll go against Baker Tilly all day long on that. That is impossible. There is somebody in this county that is committing waste, fraud, and abuse. And let me say this to the people in this county. For the whistleblowers, step forward on this. Step forward on this, and you should be paid for doing that and protected, your job protected. There is waste, fraud, and abuse in this county, and it needs to be disclosed by auditors.
Thank you. All right, so I will invite our panel back up, and we will go to the board for any questions or comments. So Ashley and Eric, Commissioner Moyer.
Thank you. I don't have many questions. This is good news. You said that we've made 2 policy changes as a result or during this process, one being to acknowledge the sick leave liability. What was our previous practice, and in what way are we adjusting that?
The previous standard only required that you record compensated absences for amounts that are required to be paid upon an employee's termination. This standard requires that you consider any leave that is going to be more likely than not to be paid to an employee. So you have to look at your sick leave, your comp time, your PTO, your vacation leave, those types of things. So the standard really scoped in all of your leave types instead of just vacation leave. Does that answer your question?
That can be cashed out, or that can be used?
That will just be used, more than likely or not to be paid or used by the employee.
Even if the employee's salary?
Correct.
Okay. Thank you.
I think
go ahead.
I'm sorry. I think the GASB was trying to make the process more consistent across governments, but I think it actually made it more inconsistent, unfortunately. There are significant differences across all of my client base on how they record and how they adopted this new standard, depending on how they looked at how sick leave is used in terms of it's last in, first out, first in, first out. There are many, many ways to look at it, and unfortunately, I don't think the standard really met what the GASB was hoping to meet, but it's a standard that was required to be adopted, and the county adopted it.
That's that topic we spent 20, 30 minutes on.
Commissioner Singleton.
Thank you for the work and the presentation, and to the whole team who was a part of this. I don't have any questions, just appreciate your acknowledgments at the end around the transparency, the openness, the responsiveness of the team. So always good to hear that about county staff. So thank you all.
Thank you. Commissioner Brim Edwards.
Good morning. I serve on the, as Eric noted, I serve as a board rep on the audit committee, and I think I share the same standard of fun as the rest of the volunteers and the auditors. Because of that, I did ask most of my questions throughout the course of the year and really appreciate the engagement with the auditors. I think it's important just that we note as we have the discussion morning that this is the financial audit, not the performance audits that are done throughout the year by the county's elected independent auditor. It's a really important point. I want to share my appreciation for the independent auditor. Ashley, your team at Baker Tilly. I'm just like Eric, having to rewire my brain on the new name. And just for the diligence and the thoroughness, as well as I also want to thank for the organizational leadership from the elected auditor's office and the support they provided to the audit committee throughout the year. I'm going to repeat some thanks because I think it's important from somebody who served as the board rep on the committee, just to thank the county staff who provided information to the auditors. I've been on the other side of an audit in my past professional life, and it's a huge lift. There's a lot of requests for information, go back and find some document or materials or documentation. For those staff members who provided information that really allows the auditor to do their work, thank you. And I also this is a statement about the ongoing work of the county. It's to achieve an unmodified opinion or a clean opinion is noteworthy, and so it's not just providing the information, but it's actually doing the work that actually results in an unmodified opinion that's really important. So thanks to the county staff for your financial stewardship of the resources we have. To the volunteer members of the audit committee, I really appreciate the time and expertise you brought, in addition to having the independence of the outside auditor, having community members with expertise participating in the audit process should provide the community with the assurance of the outcome of the audit. So thanks to the committee members. And I've got to say that, and then I want to thank the chair, Shanice, for your leadership and service. There are few tables that I sit at in which I'm not the lead questioner, but this is one of them. And I really appreciated that the members of the audit committee didn't just take this as a sort of check the box exercise, but really pressure tested the work of both staff and also, I think, the work of the independent auditors. So really, thanks to everyone, and congratulations to the county staff for your stewardship this year of our financial resources.
Commissioner Jones-Dickson.
Yep, great. Thank you, Chair. Thank you for just the work and the presentation, and shout out to Shani for her contributions over the last couple of years. Just have one question in regards to the financial statements. Did you only look at the financial statements for the 3 departments that you mentioned, or was it throughout the whole?
We audited your entire financial statement. The 3 buckets of funding that I was referring to is just the federal awards that are received, and so that's specific to the single audit. That is part of the overall financial statement audit, but we looked at all of your financial information for all departments. Yes.
That's what I assumed. Grateful. Thank you for clarifying that, and per usual, thank you for always being available as far as our questions and for your service as well, team. So.
Thank you. Yeah, again, thank you all so much for this, and I appreciate this. I will say that our COO, Chris Neal, will be joining the audit committee as my designee, so he's really looking forward to the type of audit fun that you all have in those meetings, starting with the spring meeting. And so just appreciate this, but thank you all for, I mean, we've had a lot of partnership. Moss Adams was like a client of mine like 20 years ago, so I always will be thinking that in my mind too, but we just appreciate the continued partnership with you and your team in working with the county for these audits. I want to appreciate the work of all the employees, Eric, you and your team, Cora, and so many others who have enabled us to do this work each year, all of the audit committee members as well. But this is, this is so important for us to ensure that the work we're doing from a financial perspective is where we need it to be, where we want it to be, and that we're including the best practices. And so it's great to receive this report this year. So thank you so much, Ashley. Thank you, Eric.
Thank you.
And with that, Marina, can we have a roll call vote?
Commissioner Moyer?
Aye.
Commissioner Singleton?
Yes.
Commissioner Brim Edwards?
Yes.
Commissioner Jones Dixon?
Yes.
Chair Vega Peterson?
Aye, the resolution is adopted.
R2, resolution to adopt Main Streets on Halsey Street Design Plan.
May I have a motion? Commissioner Singleton moves, Commissioner Jones Dixon seconds, approval of R2. So we have the opportunity to adopt a Main Streets program for Halsey Street design. There have been a lot of folks who have been participating in this process. I'm happy to turn it over to Commissioner Jones Dixon to help introduce this.
Yeah, great. Thank you, Chair. And we also have Mayor Kurtna and Councilor Simpson here to provide opening remarks. Just want to thank the team. The Main Streets on Halsey plan is the culmination of 5 years of work between the cities of Fairview, Troutdale, Wood Village, and Multnomah County. The concept design makes Halsey Street a safer road for all users and a more welcoming place to visit, which reflects and represents East County's interests in safer and more lively streets for all residents. Throughout this process, each city led engagement in their own jurisdiction, hosting workshops, promoting the plan at city events, and talking to residents and business leaders about their needs. This project is also an economic development catalyst meant to elevate Halsey as a shopping and retail destination. We also work closely with local businesses in the Halsey Community Collaborative Compact, HC3, Executive Committee on the plan. I believe we have one of their members here. Halsey is the one of the only roads that connects the 3 smaller East County cities and has fewer lanes than the other main roads. It passes through the center of Fairview and Wood Village and connects to downtown Troutdale. It is already a busy corridor, but this plan will help it achieve even more. The Main Streets on Halsey plan includes both short and long-term improvements that add or widen bike lanes, improve and close gaps in sidewalks, and add safer crossings throughout the corridor. We expect these improvements to encourage more residents to use Halsey recreationally by shopping and dining on the corridor. The cities of Fairview, Troutdale, and Wood Village have already shown their commitment by adopting the plan and passing the resolution to adopt this plan, which signals Multnomah County's commitment to secure much-needed investment and economic development to elevate East Multnomah County. I would like to invite Councilor Simpson up first, followed by Mayor Kurtna to add to the opening remarks. Welcome, and thank you for being here.
Good morning.
Let's start with Mayor Kurtna because he's on camera.
Good morning, Mayor. There you go.
Thank you very much for your time. Thank you, Chair Peterson and fellow commissioners. I do appreciate being given the opportunity to come before you to promote the Main Streets on Halsey project. I've been fortunate enough to be a part of this, part of the coordination committee since its inception. And I've seen and experienced the work firsthand that Wood Village, Fairview, and Troutdale have done to get this project to where it is now. The Main Streets on Halsey project is intended to promote not only economic development, but also increase civic pride within East County. Since 2019, there have been multiple instances of public outreach, gaining not only the temperature of the public's appetite and interest for this project, but also allowing the public to have significant input in some of the design features. Now, speaking from my time on the coordinating committee, I genuinely feel that this project has tremendous potential to not only embrace that small town feel that so many residents have moved out here for, while simultaneously providing an inviting environment for new businesses to thrive. We've seen firsthand in Troutdale how they've embraced that small Main Street concept. And we're seeing instance after instance of businesses thriving in that area. And we're anticipating utilizing this project to spread this environment not only throughout the rest of Troutdale into Wood Village and also into Fairview. I think any of us who have spent a weekend out here in East County will know that on any given Saturday or Sunday along Halsey Boulevard, you will be entertained by a plethora of cars, pedestrians, and bicycles. Now, keep in mind that throughout most of this area, this is a 2-lane road with narrow shoulders. Combining so many people with pedestrians, with bicycles, on an area that has not seen significant safety upgrades in decades is concerning in a way. But this project, this Main Streets on Halsey project, can and would address that safety feature. No matter what, we do know that we need Multnomah County in their assistance. We do appreciate your time and your consideration in helping make this dream a reality. Thank you.
Thank you, Mayor Kurdna, and thank you for serving on MPACT as our chair as well. Councilor Simpson, welcome, Metro.
Thank you, Commissioner Jones-Dixon. Good to see you, Mayor Kurdna. Good morning, Chair Vega-Peterson, commissioners. For the record, my name is Ashton Simpson, Metro Councilor for District 1, representing Gresham, Rockwood, East Portland, Troutdale, Wood Village, Fairview, and a very small part of Happy Valley, including Damascus. I'm here today to offer my strong support for the adoption of the Main Streets on Halsey plan. Since 2017, the cities of Fairview, Wood Village, and Troutdale, alongside Multnomah County, have been working together to create a shared community center vision for a 3-mile stretch of the Northeast Halsey corridor. What stands before you today is the result of years of partnership, persistence, and coordination, a truly regional vision that reflects what can happen when East County jurisdictions work together toward a common goal. This is not a cookie-cutter plan. It's a unique vision for a unique corridor and will attract the transportation and economic investments that our community deserves. The plan imagines Northeast Halsey as an economic and activity hub of East Multnomah County, and adoption of this resolution signals commitment to pursue the grants and funding needed to make that vision a reality. Main Streets on Halsey, at its core, is a transformative safety and quality of life investment for all of our residents. It proposes new crossings, continuous sidewalks, protected bike facilities, improved lighting, and streetscape upgrades. Changes that don't just prevent crashes, but genuinely improve daily life for the people who walk, roll, bike, drive, and do business along the corridor. A safer street is a more vibrant street. It's a street where families feel comfortable, where local businesses, small businesses can thrive, and where people experience joy rather than anxiety from traveling from place to place. What I'm especially proud of in this effort is the centered community voices. Residents shape the design through many years of engagement, and because of that, this is not simply a government plan, it is literally a community vision. The cities of Fairview, Wood Village, and Troutdale have already adopted the plan, demonstrating broad regional alignment, and today's action would bring the county into partnership and help unlock future funding opportunities to advance implementation. I also want to recognize the amount of intergovernmental coordination it has taken to reach this point. Multi-jurisdictional work is not easy, but the corridor connects our cities, our neighborhoods, and our people, and it deserves the same coordinated investment and attention. In closing, I urge you to support this resolution. This is a plan built by community, grounded in safety, and focused on equitable economic development. I'm excited to work with you and deploy any resources we can as a Metro partner in this venture. And as we continue shaping a future for East County that is safer, more vibrant, and more connected for everyone. Thank you for your time and your consideration. I got to go to my council meeting now.
Thank you, Councilor. Thank you, Mayor.
Thank you, Councilor.
On to you, Chair.
Great, and with that, we will turn it over to DCS. Good morning.
Good morning, Chair and Commissioners. I'm Graham Martin, Transportation Development Supervisor. I'm joined today with Irene Farrell, who's the Transportation Project Manager. And Irene's been involved in this project from the start and working with our small East County cities in the development of this plan. And Irene's going to lead you through a presentation which is going to give you a brief overview of the plan and its development. And we're both here to answer any questions you have at the end. All right, thanks.
Thank you. Good morning.
Good morning. Thank you, Graham. My name is Irene Farrell. I'm a project manager here at Transportation. Thank you for having us, Chair Vega-Peterson and the Board of Commissioners. I'm very excited to present to you this plan. It's been a labor of love for many years. Next slide, please. So the Main Streets in Halsey plan is actually part of a bigger economic development plan that conversation has started back in 2016 with the 3 cities on how to elevate the East County to be a good economic development destination. So back in 2017, actually Fairview led some economic plan strategy to identify opportunities for economic development in East County. And with that, we've kind of built a really good momentum on how to make this dream a reality. So back in 2020, there was a whole zoning code recommendations to look at how to upgrade the land use code to be more of that Main Street feel, how to encourage development to happen, and how to kind of put some encouragement into local businesses to invest in Halsey. And then this specific street design plan that we have is a plan that started back in talks in 2020, and then we worked through 2023, and 2024 is when we finalized the plan. It is a work between Troutdale, Wood Village, and Fairview to talk about our vision for the corridor on Halsey and how to make that into a main street. The county became a lot more of an advocate for this because Halsey, as you're aware, is our street that we maintain, so we really want to have a good say and also encourage community development in this plan. So next slide, please. So as you know, multi-jurisdictional work is not easy. We all have different visions. We all have different wants. Each cities are their own respective unit. So we did have an exercise on how we can have the values for this project. So this project have about 5 values where the main important thing was how do we unite the 3 cities and build community while at the same time driving that economic development and making it unique. So the other aspects is about having more accessibility, creating transportation options for our residents, supporting small businesses, and also improving the environment with street trees and reducing pollution. So next slide, please. This is a project area of how Halsey can show you expands all throughout the East County. So it starts from 201st all the way to where it terminates and turns into downtown Troutdale. One of the main areas is the McMenamins Edgefield. Most of us have gone there for concerts and just kind of like a fun adventure in Edgefield, I'm sure. So golfing, anything you can name of. So each cities kind of take it upon themselves to also encourage this plan. And if you recall in the last TSAP adoption that we had a few weeks ago, Halsey is still one of the highest corridor that has the safety crashes. So it's really important for us to have that lens too while we're working through this project. Next slide, please. So this design project went through 3 different phases, and each phases went through a pretty thorough community development effort. The first one being existing conditions. There's been a lot of work on Halsey in itself, but it was really important for us to understand the gaps, deficiency, what are the needs, and also going to the community and ask them, how do you experience Halsey? Is it by driving? Is it by walking? What makes you want to be in Halsey? And in the second phase from that, when we hear about the existing conditions, is to go back into establishing a preliminary design. So looking at Halsey right now, it's a typical suburban road, but how can it be reimagined to make it safer and encourage people to actually want to spend time in Halsey? So in that phase, we also went back to the public and asked them, what do you like about these considerations? What are the amenities on the street that you like the most? And also, what are the locations that you feel you will feel safe crossing on Halsey? And then with that, we went to the third phase, which is just finalizing the plan and coming up with an interim plan, because this kind of plan will take many years to complete. But it's also important for us to know what are the small actionable steps that we can do to achieve the long-term plan. And it also includes some cost estimates for us to get kind of like an understanding of where we can bring that into our CIP in the years to come. The next slide, please. So I did mention community engagement, and also all the testimonies beforehand also mentioned that, but it really was a proud achievement that we've done. Each city really went on their own to do the best practice of community engagement, which is meet people where they are. So we go to every kind of event that each city had. My colleague Sarah Selden here at the Fairview on the Green event. We went to Wood Village for their Night Out event. It's also in partnerships with Natural Leaders, so it's a local East County group of women who kind of encourage civic leadership, and they're Spanish speaking. So we're able to kind of get help to do some interpretation and translation services to capture that population. So the next slide. So there's also two groups that walk through the whole project with us. One is the Technical Advisory Committee, which consists of myself and my other colleagues who are the project managers on the cities. I do want to have a shout out for Sarah Selden, Greg Dirks, Marley Boxler, and Erica Palmer from all the three cities who's been part of this project. It's a really great teamwork effort that we've done. And also members of ODOT and Metro. And then the Project Advisory Committee consists of local residents, so some members from our Bike Ped Committee, and also the HC3 Compact, local business leaders, as well as a principal for our charter school on Halsey. So any kind of community leaders that's on the Strip, we invited them to be part of the Project Advisory Committee. Next slide, please. And then it's worth noting, because it's an economic development plan, we did also have a focus group on local small business owners to ask them how they use Halsey. One of the main things that we wanted to introduce was parking or reduction in kind of speed, to understand how they use that. As a business owner, there's loading needs and also parking needs. So we involve their perspective to see what are some of the things that would be helpful for them. The feedback that we got was really helpful into maybe possibly using a parking lane as a loading zone instead, and just really good communication with the business. Next slide. And then there's three other specific outreach that we've done. One of the targeted outreach is for us to meet with McMenamins, because they are a big stakeholder in the Strip. So we met with them twice to talk about the plan, the vision, what they envision for Halsey. And then the other groups that we met, understanding that sometimes youth don't have access to a vehicle, but they also need to use Halsey, is going to a Play East lunch event, and also a library kind of Russian reading event that we did. So those are the two targeted outreach that we've done to specifically kind of reach out some populations that wouldn't otherwise we get. Next slide, please. So this is just a quick look into some of the feedback that we got. It's pretty consistent with the TSAP results, which is better quality sidewalks, wider sidewalks, improved crossings, and lighting to make Halsey feel safer for people to spend time in. One of the things that we did learn is so much of us in East County think that we drive everywhere because we have to, but if you look at the results that people gave us, is a lot of people do actually bike and walk in Halsey, and they share a pretty significant amount of proportion to the feedback. Next slide, please. So I just want to give a perspective for those of you who hasn't been on Halsey. It's possible that there's quite a bit of changes, but this is on Wood Village. This is a cross-section of what it looks like right now. And next slide. So one of the things with the plan is to envision it to be more street trees, adding more parking on that commercial contact zone, having a bike lane that's separated from the road and also alongside the sidewalk. This was especially important on feedback about the bike lane and the sidewalk being elevated and separated, because of the higher speeds that people tend to travel on Halsey. People feel more safe if there's a bigger buffer between the vehicles and themselves. Next slide, please. This is the picture of Edgefield. Edgefield was a section that we hear a lot about people not feeling safe because people do drive on Edgefield, and After the fun times that we have in Edgefield, I'm sure you had similar situations where it's nighttime after a concert, and it's really hard to navigate on Edgefield. So we have heard a lot of public feedback about how to increase visibility, crosswalks, or even just adding a sidewalk on the side so residents feel safer on Edgefield. Next slide, please. So this is also the similar cross-section that is envisioned for Edgefield to be consistent with how it looks like in the rest of the Main Streets on Halsey corridor. Next slide. I also want to touch base, it's not just cross-sections in this plan. There is also suggestions for additional crosswalks that either could be upgraded, added, or built long-term to make it more walkable for a lot of our residents. So one of the plan outcomes are identifying those things, and this is really helpful for us in DCS transportation to plan out future crosswalks or future capital projects that we can implement. Next slide. Another thing about making it into a main street is also making it look pretty. That's kind of the thing that I like doing into making a planning project real, is to make it that civic pride. And then so the signage and public art is also a suggestion that was brought forward to the plan, and then adding more stormwater facilities to kind of slow people down and encourage people just to linger around in Halsey a little bit longer. Next slide. So the main question is always about next steps. I think the direction with your adoption today would really help us to put together this plan and the implementation of the TSAP as a priority for our department. And for us to also continue grant funding, federal, state, whatever is available, and also at the same time examine how development in Halsey, when they come, how they can contribute to putting forward this plan together. And with that, I think I'm done. Thank you.
All right, thank you all so much for all the work on this, for all the community partnerships. I appreciate having the mayor and councilor here to talk about their support for this work as well. I believe we have one person signed up for public testimony, so we're going to give them a chance to provide that, and then we'll invite you back up in case there are any questions or comments from the board.
We have Dean Harford.
Good morning, commissioners. Can you hear me?
Just need to turn on your mic. There's a little
Just have to hit the button there. There you go.
There you go.
That's it.
Oh, can you hear me now? Okay, good morning. So, no, I'm here in support of this program. The fun thing about it.
Can you just state your name for the record?
Sure, Dean Herford.
Thank you.
So I'm in support of the program, but what's interesting is I almost bought a big stack of papers today because this really started about 2009 and 2010. It took us a long time to be able to get it to the people that could help move it forward. So my hat's off, and I thank both Mayor Kudrinaw of Fairview and Jones Dixon for helping get it this far. It's interesting, and I'll make it really quick, is the diversity of the street plans, because with these 3 different cities, with McMinimum's there, downtown Troutdale is already set, so it's going to be quite a complicated thing, but it'll be a fun thing. And the last thing I want to say is it will be complicated because there'll be parts that you won't be able to change that are already there, so there's going to have to be a blending of the energies in the design. Anyway, I just want to leave it that I support the plan, and I appreciate that we're finally getting some headway. Like I say, I've got paperwork on my office and my desk from 2009 when these ideas are started with the business community. Thank you.
Thank you. Appreciate you coming down. All right, I'll invite you both back up, and then we will go to the board for any questions or comments. We'll start with Commissioner Singleton.
Thank you, Chair. Thank you all for your work and all of the other folks involved. I just really appreciate the robust engagement that you did and the fact that there were multiple ways that people could give their input. I also really just love how intentional the design is around separation of bike and ped from vehicle traffic. That's going to be really critical. I have one question. I think transportation folks know I love a leverage. So when we're talking about some of these improvements, are we looking at opportunities to leverage whether we're doing ADA ramps or it's metro cooling corridors, and how can they help support the tree planting? Just how are we kind of looking at those leverage opportunities to get some of these components of this project actually built?
Well, I'll first say I'll get back to you on that, but we have started internal discussions on how to implement some of these actions. So it's pretty hot on our minds right now to do that. So we will definitely get back to you on that.
Thank you.
I can add a little bit. So that we do have other pieces of the transportation program that we're rolling out at this point in time. And that includes the ADA transition plan, and there has been certain improvements along the East County corridors. Whether those are on Halsey at this point in time, I can't say for certain, but we can provide that information to you.
Wonderful, thank you. I just want to end with a quick story. While I was at Join, I worked with a gentleman who I'll call Joe, and this section of Halsey was his everything. Rain or shine, he was at Salish ponds teaching everyone and anyone how to fish and catch the big ones. If you needed something to eat, he would always direct you go to the best Target in town. And his favorite place to spend a summer evening was listening to music at Edgefield. So when he was actually able to move into housing, he insisted that we look on Halsey and right around Halsey to make sure that he could stay in a place that he loved. Joe has long since passed, but he would have been so over the moon about this project and this space that he loved, and that I hear clearly from community that they love. So thank you for the work, and I look forward to hearing the follow-up.
Thank you so much. Commissioner Brim Edwards. Commissioner Brim Edwards, are you available? Are you ready to go?
Thank you for the presentation. And it's clear how much work has happened over, it sounds like from going way back to 2009 to put this together. And having been involved in some multi-jurisdiction, that makes it sound so easy, but I know when you have multiple jurisdictions involved in cities, county, and the community, it takes time to get it right, and there's lots of different perspectives and ideas being offered. So I appreciate that we're coming forward with a plan that is broadly supported. I want to thank Commissioner Jones-Dickson for bringing it today. And you know, one of the things, I'm just reflecting on the presentation, and I was a little bit triggered by the photo by Edgefield, because the photo was like during the day, and it actually looked a little bit manageable, but if you're driving that stretch at night, it feels very different. And so I'm thinking about the future with all the improvements that are proposed and what a difference that will make for people, no matter how they're traveling down the stretch of Halsey, and what it'll mean for also for the economic vitality of that particular corridor. So I don't have any questions. Just sharing appreciation. Also like that we ended with the next steps, because I always think that's sort of, everybody takes a sigh of relief when you get to like a big milestone, but then really important, what are the next steps? And I guess I'll look for Commissioner Jones-Dickson to bring those forward so that the commission can be helpful in bringing this vision to life. But thanks again for your work on this.
Thank you. Commissioner Jones-Dickson.
Yeah, great. Thank you, Chair, and thank you, Irini, for your work over the last 5+ years, or 4+ years, and Graham as well. Welcome to the team, and Director Bradway for just being responsive when we asked the question a couple months ago. So we are looking forward to, you know, this is another addition to building America's favorite county. I would be remiss if I didn't say thank you to you as well, Dean. You've been talking about this for the last year with me. So we're looking forward to just supporting and doing whatever we need as far as finding the investments. Like I said, all of the leadership in the district, as we know, is supportive. Councilor Simpson as well for Metro, so that's extremely helpful. So looking forward to bringing this to life if it passes. Thank you.
Thank you. Commissioner Moyer.
Oh, one other thing. The reason why everyone laughed is because I call Fairview the East County, the Lake Oswego of East County because of Blue Lake Park. It is. It's better. Tell Mayor Buck that. It's better.
Careful, I got a tip of Lake Oswego in my district. Just a question, just because I don't sit on all the transportation groups. What is the next steps after the adoption of this? Is this going to inform each jurisdiction's next steps? Do we come together? I'm just curious about where this is in the process.
So for next steps, it's mostly on the county because the jurisdictions, we have the jurisdiction over the road on Halsey. So in terms of next steps, we're going to take it internally to see how we can implement it into our future projects and capital improvement plan. And for the cities, what they're looking to do is in the next TSP, so Transportation System Plan update, is they'll include that into their TSPs respectively to that.
Okay, thanks. All right, thank you so much. I love seeing the street design pictures and the way that this is going to change the community. Having lived in East Portland for 18 years, I know that like the investments that were made over the time that I was there in changing the way that streets function had a huge impact on people's ability to be mobile throughout their community, to access the small businesses that were around there. The addition of trees and things like that really changed the neighborhood. And I know I drive Halsey all the time, and it is a smaller road, but people drive on it as if it's a bigger road, and that's dangerous, right, to pedestrians and cyclists and the folks who live around there. And this really gives that opportunity to make a big change in the way that the street functions, not just for the traffic, but for the entire community, and really make those connections between places of the different segments along this. So I just really appreciate all of the work that has gone into this, and design is just the first step, right? This plan is the first step, and now it's on all of us to work together to make sure it becomes a reality. So thank you so much for your work on that, and just really appreciate this opportunity to vote on this and support this today. Thank you. Marina, can we have a roll call vote?
Commissioner Moyer?
Aye.
Commissioner Singleton?
Yes.
Commissioner Brim Edwards?
Yes.
Commissioner Jones-Dixon?
Yes.
Chair Vega Peterson?
Aye, the resolution is adopted. Thank you.
R3, ratification of collective bargaining agreement 2025-2028 between Multnomah County and the American Federation of State, County, and Municipal Employees, AFSCME Local 88.
May I have a motion? Second. Commissioner Singleton moves, Commissioner Moyer seconds approval of R3. So I'm so grateful today that we have representation from Local 88 here as we take this step for ratifying the collective bargaining agreement that I know that was the result of months of effort. I appreciate the leadership being here today and members, as well as folks from our labor relations team who are working on this. This is really a draft that, a contract that, reflects the values of the county. I appreciate the ratification by Local 88 members. I think the ratification was about 92% in favor, so that was really great. And just want to thank Matt and Sessa for all the work as well that went into this, to coming to agreement. As folks know, Local 88 is our largest union at the county, with a bargaining unit of 4,000 members, and and those folks are critical for our ability to serve our community. And this is a really important agreement for us to be able to do that. So with that, I will pass it over to Matt and Sessa to share the details of the agreement with the board.
Thank you, Chair. Good morning, Commissioners. For the record, my name is Sessa Diaz, and I'm the Interim Chief Human Resources Officer for Multnomah County. Thank you for having me this morning. As the Chair shared, I'm here today to request board ratification of the tentative agreement reached in successor bargaining with AFSCME Local 88. Joining me today is Matt Davies. He's a Labor Relations Manager who actually served as second chair for the county. As you can imagine, bargaining for a unit that represents over 4,050 employees, or about 61% of our workforce, is no small feat. It's a massive logistical and often emotional lift. It requires an immense amount of expertise and a commitment to honest, transparent conversations. Over 30 employees participated as bargaining team members, subject matter experts, and observers. Before we dive into some of the high-level details, I want to take a moment to recognize the incredible effort involved. During this bargaining session, we had a total of 31 bargaining sessions. I still laugh and chuckle at that, culminating in a tentative agreement that we reached on December 29th, 2025. Again, I'd like to take a moment to acknowledge the team members by name. From management, Matt Davies, Johnette Easter, Shannon Golter, Jill Bradford, Jenny Woods, Cynthia Trocino, Brandon Roberts, Patsy Mouche, Debbie Powers, Aaron Murphy, Jeff Heinrich, Nora Jones, Ash Manning, Andrea Damewood, and Susan Yee. From AFSCME, Chris Johnson, who served as lead negotiator for AFSCME, Brian Dunaville, Jackie Tate, Grant Swanson, Becky Lilly, Megan Gallagher, Christian Williams, Jessica Croson, Destiny Sanchez, E. Dominguez, Robin Easton Davis, Kristen Harbert, and Imogen Fox. When we started the bargaining process, both parties had a goal to simplify contract language and address unit-specific concerns. While the full agreement is comprehensive, I'd like to highlight several key changes to this new 3-year agreement. I think a big one is the trial service period. This has been a priority for the union for a bit of time, and we reduced our trial service period. It used to be 12 months. With the ratification of this contract, it will be reduced to 6 months. And we've also established clear guidelines on when and how extensions are permitted. Specific to compensation for year one, we have a 2.4% COLA or a $1 increase, whichever is greater. This will be retroactive to July 1st, 2025. Effective July 1st, 2026, we're guaranteeing a 3.5% COLA and increasing the county's minimum wage to $21. We've also ensured that employees who do not receive the full 3.5% get a one-time payment of $500 for full-time or for regular status employees and $250 for on-call. In year 3, we kept status quo for COLA of 1% to 4%. However, we have a reopener that guarantees that we open the language if COLA falls outside of that range. We're also we also added language to square up our compensation grades to ensure that there's a solid 3% increase between each step, and included new language that establishes how COLA will be applied to the wage scales going forward. We also increased premiums. Bilingual pay was increased from 4% to 5%, and our cultural KSA premium was also increased from 4% to 5%. One key addition that I'd like to highlight to this contract is a new longevity milestone benefit. Employees who reach 15 years of county service will now receive a one-time 40-hour grant of leave upon reaching that 15 years of service. We've also added new language to support our employees who volunteer to work county shelters during an inclement weather closure. This new language provides volunteer premiums and the ability to earn additional saved holidays based on the hours they work. It also provides clarity on employee responsibilities during a closure. This agreement is the result of a deep commitment from both sides to find a path forward. Negotiating a contract for a unit of this size requires a careful balancing act, and we worked hard to reach a middle ground that provides progress in wages and benefits while ensuring we can continue to deliver essential service sustainably. Thank you for your time. I will now hand the mic over to AFSCME, and after that we'll be available for questions.
All right, good morning. I think we have folks coming up. Jackie, Rachel, Sierra, anyone else who's welcome? All right, go, Jackie, you're gonna start. No worries. Just don't forget to hit the button on your mic when you begin speaking.
My computer's waking up. I love technology. Good morning, everyone.
Good morning.
All right. apologize. Okay. All right, now my computer is going to be agreeable again. Sorry about that. Hello, Chair, Commissioners. My name is Jackie Tate. I'm a 30-year county employee, a lifelong resident of Multnomah County, and I'm proud to be here as the first Black woman to be the president of AFSCME Local 88. As you know, and I think you stated, Chair, that Local 88 represents about 4,000 represented members here at Multnomah County, making this contract the largest contract and also very important for all of us. We're here today to officially ratify our new union contract with the county. First, I'd like to thank the bargaining team who were committed to equity, fairness, and listening to our membership to push for a member-led process that was transparent and accessible, and a contract that sought to address the issues, concerns, and values most important to our members. And though our contract fell short in many of these things our members felt were most important, like trauma leave when faced with workplace violence and tragedy, or to a robust DEI statement that codifies the beliefs and values that the county says they hold dear, but often seems to come short on. We are still proud of the many wins that we think make this a better contract and give us a foothold for future negotiations. For example, we're excited to move back to a 6-month initial trial service, as this will lessen the stress and uncertainty of a year of probation, especially on our Black, brown, and members of other marginalized communities. I've been here 30 years. It was 6 months when I started at the county. The new longevity benefit that recognizes employees who have committed years to public service, and increasing the bilingual and cultural KSA premium to 5% to recognize the skills these employees use to make our services more accessible to all members of our community. And while we celebrate the victories won for our members, we are also disappointed in county leadership. Often at the table, we found ourselves facing a county team out of alignment with its own stated mission of fostering a just, equitable, and sustainable workplace centered around racial equity, stewardship, and safety. The priorities set by Multnomah County throughout the negotiations failed to reflect these values. And while we called for accountability and a shared responsibility in making this a great place to work, we found ourselves often stonewalled. As a union, we are committed to a workplace where employees thrive, where they are energized by the work that benefits our community members, where members' voices are heard and valued, where members and leadership make decisions together at the table, and that we have a work culture that recognizes and holistically addresses employee trauma to build a resilience among our members to ensure we can continue to provide the critical services we deliver to our community. We thank you for ratifying the contract. But we hope that we can count on you in these commitments as we go forward into the future. Thank you. And now I'll defer to Cindy Sierra, our treasurer.
Good morning.
Good morning. My name is Cindy Sierra. I use she, her, hers pronouns. I am the treasurer of AFSCME Local 88. And hello, Chair and Commissioners. Multnomah County proudly states that it operates under the value of shared responsibility. Those words matter. Values are not just statements on a website. They are promises to workers who deliver services every day and to the community that depends on them. Right now, that promise is broken. Our members are being laid off. Others are being asked, again, to sacrifice. They are asked to do more with less, to absorb vacancies, to create uncertainties, and to shoulder the emotional toll of serving the public while wondering if they still have a job tomorrow. These are not abstract decisions. These are real people, real families, and real impacts on the services this community provides. At the same time, the county has expanded and leveled up the COO team, creating an additional layer between frontline workers, department leadership, and you, the chair and the elected officials who is ultimately accountable to the public. That decision sends a message, whether intended or not, that investments in that investments is flowing upwards while sacrifices are flowing downwards. Shared responsibility means that sacrifices cannot be one-sided. If the county truly believes in sharing responsibility, then accountability and restraint must be shared as well. Workers should not be asked to give up job security, stability, and capacity while management structures continue to grow. Values lose credibility when they are not applied evenly. Our union is not here to obstruct progress. We believe in effective government. We believe in smart systems, and we believe that strong public services are built by workers who are respected, retained, and supported, not treated as an adjustable line on a budget that gets tight. We are asking for alignment between values and actions. We are asking for transparency in decision-making. We are asking that before more workers are laid off or asked to sacrifice, leadership looks inward and asks, are we sharing this responsibility fairly? Because sharing responsibility means standing up together in difficult moments, not shifting the burden onto those with the least amount of power to absorb it. Our members deserve better. Our community deserves better. And Multnomah County can do better if it chooses to live up to the values it so often speaks of. Thank you for your time. And I'll pass it to our Vice President.
Thank you. Good morning.
Good morning, Chair, Commissioners. My name is Rachel O'Rourke. I use she, her pronouns. I'm a 15-year employee with Multnomah County, a 25-year resident of Northeast Portland, and the Vice President of Local 88. I also work as an acute care coordinator with the Crisis Line. The contract ratified today is stark proof that Multnomah County has systematically pressured its essential workers to cave, to sacrifice their livelihoods and mental health, while protected management class remains untouched and insulated from the very cuts they impose. There is no shared sacrifice here, only a one-way street of hardship shifted entirely onto the backs of the workers who keep the community safe, healthy, and running when all else fails. We face yet another devastating round of layoffs. And Ask Me Local 88 is done with the rhetoric. We are not just seeing responsibility being shifted, we are seeing a deliberate betrayal of public trust. When managers tell us we must sacrifice while protecting their own executive salaries and creating new high-level positions, they are mocking us. They are mocking the children, the families, and the vulnerable populations that these programs serve. You want shared sacrifice? Start by cutting your own paychecks. Start by eliminating the bloated consultant contracts. Start by sharing the burden yourselves before you ask another worker to choose between paying rent or buying medicine. We are not asking for a favor. We are demanding the respect and fairness that we were promised. Stop shifting the burden and start leading by example. The majority of our workforce experiences real, debilitating trauma symptoms resulting from the daily reality of their jobs. We serve the most vulnerable citizens, and we bear witness to systematic crisis. Yet consistently and actively, Multnomah County leadership has opposed the inclusion of dedicated trauma leave in our contract negotiations. While managers can exercise sole discretion over inconsistent ad hoc leave, the county legally bound itself to ensure that a standardized protected trauma leave policy is not subject to bargaining or the grievance procedure. This is not an oversight. It's a deliberate rejection of our basic mental health needs. We demand comprehensive trauma support that honors the mental health of our members. We demand that you cease all cuts of the safety net services that support our most vulnerable neighbors. You cannot claim to lead with equity while you break the spirits of your employees and abandon the families who rely on us. It's time to stop protecting positions and start protecting people. Thank you.
Thank you all. Appreciate all the work that went into this. All right, I believe we have some public testimony on this, so we'll invite them up, and then we'll bring Sessa and Mac back up and open it up for board questions and comments.
Okay, we have Ernesto Dominguez and Destiny Sanchez.
Good morning. Either one of you can go first, whoever wants to.
Thank you and good morning. I will just ask that folks are not typing emails and that we can have some eye contact here as I deliver my testimony. My name is Destiny Sanchez. I work at the Homeless Services Department, and I have been there since 2020 to 2022 when I left and came back in 2024 to present. And I am on the bargaining team this year as well. I've worked in the congregate shelters with no power supply or heat. I've worked alone as a solo staff at the 5th and Washington Supply Center, where I feared for my safety on the regular, as people in crisis requested survival gear and some threatening my life. I've worked in coordinated access, connecting our adult population to permanent supportive housing, and I've supported implementation of the CHAIRS program and state programs, Housing Multnomah Now, Oregon All In, and long-term rental assistance. I've seen the impacts of a poorly funded and short-term program and how the work gets shoveled onto those with the lowest classifications on the team, such as myself being an admin analyst. We declare a sanctuary city, but you facilitate an unsafe workplace, refusing immigrants an equal right to see family out of the country with flexibility that makes sense given their circumstances. We see stats on queer, trans, and people of color being pushed out at detrimental rates, yet we still push to churn in a diverse workforce. Black women in leadership are being pummeled and pushed out. What on earth do you think is happening to frontline staff? Our local government needs to hear this until their ears bleed. It's beyond time that we saw some real progress. HR and labor relations refused to see us face-to-face once we entered mediation. They couldn't bear the weight of our pleas for a fair contract. Instead, they took our demands as personal attacks and redirected us to address the chair. And so we nominated you for Scrooge of the Year, not to be funny or petty, but to genuinely attempt to appeal to your Christmas celebrating heart that you are killing your workforce by denying them enough pay to cover essentials like meds, food, and reliable transportation, to say the least. HR saying that they already moved much farther than they ever intended when correcting longstanding issues in our step chart, issues that cost our members thousands over their careers, bleeding out their benefits over time, while denying us real wins like an opportunity to discuss and collaborate on trauma leave policies or form a joint committee to address safe staffing levels. Now we turn to span of control and the most severe reductions yet. While our leaders laugh and smile uncomfortably as ICE raids our neighborhood and the local government removes people from visibility, shoving them into shelters and quick housing solutions that result in evictions and worse legal issues than they might have ever been involved in before our help. We do not want to see our programs and beloved staff leave this community. This is why we settled. With this severe financial forecast, we have no choice, they say, and yet we can afford a security detail, a more expensive home tucked away, and retirement for our new-to-the-system directors who serve shorter than a full budget cycle in their term. But please celebrate all of your accomplishments while we scrounge for food and pull for money at anywhere we can. Thank you.
Thank you. Good morning.
Good morning, Chair Jessica Vega-Peterson and County Commissioners. For the record, my name is Ernesto Dominguez, but folks call me E. My pronouns are él and he. I'm an employee at ADVSD and a member of the AFSCME Local 8 bargaining team. I'm here today to share my personal experience of a bargaining process that began in February of 2025. An experience that, as a person of color, a queer person, and immigrant, has been the most disheartening of my 5 years at Multnomah County. For nearly a year, I sat across from the labor relations leadership team, what I witnessed was a toxic culture that fundamentally contradicts the values that the board promotes. From the beginning, our proposals were belittled and dismissed. Many of the counters that we received were not good faith negotiations, and instead, we would just receive the same language over and over again without consideration for what we were bringing forward. When we sought to protect workers from being replaced or monitored by artificial intelligence, the county refused to even discuss it. When we proposed a permanent article to affirm our commitment to equity, we were told the county wouldn't include it because it might make us a target for the federal administration. The lack of empathy was staggering. When discussing employees who would bring bed bugs home from their field work, the county team admitted they did zero research on mitigation costs and refused to take responsibility for eradication of pests. When we asked for trauma leave for staff in high-risk environments like shelters and libraries, we were told the county cannot protect people from harm and that employees should just accept the inherent risks of their job. Most offensive were the comments regarding our lowest paid workers. When we advocated for a living wage, Labor Relations told us that we shouldn't make assumptions about our low-wage workers because, and I quote, they might have a trust fund. They stated clearly that the county has no desire to be leader in wages, that capitalism would decide what people were worth, and that if the market allowed them to pay less, they would indeed pay less. Over and over, they stated that there was no money for anything above a 2.4 COLA, and as such, refused to even negotiate about our COLA until we entered mediation. Even now, as you vote on this agreement, there is a glaring inequality. New hires will have a 6-month trial service, while those hired just yesterday are forced to remain on trial service for a full year. This is not just offensive, it's a rejection of equity that we claim to stand for. I left many sessions feeling that Labor Relations' only goal were to pay the least, punish the most, and hoard power under the guise of management rights. This contract is nowhere near what our members deserve. I'm sharing this today because the culture of labor relations at Multnomah County must change. Our values should drive our North Star, not just our press releases. Thank you.
Thank you. Appreciate you both coming here today. All right, I'll invite Sessa and Matt back up here, and we'll go to the board for questions and comments. We'll start with Commissioner Brim Edwards.
I don't have any questions. I have some comments, but I'll wait till the questions go through.
Commissioner Jones-Dickson?
No problem. Say my comments now.
Okay.
Yeah, so no questions. I just want to acknowledge, just thank you. This is why we have union leadership, you know, and you can't fix a secret. So I appreciate just you being forthright as far as your experience and what happened, what happened throughout the process. There's 3 things that I know that are coming. One, we're hiring a new HR director. Hopefully, you're a part of the process. Hopefully, someone is a part of the process. We'll talk about that. 2, we have a Spark program as far as the continuous improvement. Hopefully, you're a part of that process as well. I got a thumbs up, so that's coming, forthcoming. And 3, we need you. So again, thank you. Continue to share your feedback. That's the only way we're going to get better. And honor the work that we're doing. So that's the reason why we have why I believe we have the Spark program in general, so we can work together to fix our systems and go deeper. So I'll leave it there, so I'm just not talking, and thank you for just the work and doing your best as far as facilitating the conversation. We have a lot to learn, and I'll save the rest of my comments for later. Thank you again.
Okay, thank you. Commissioner Moyer.
Another thing, sorry.
Go ahead.
Just in response to the trauma, I know we have a new position. Canada has been in that trauma, the HR trauma role or what have you. I've been learning a little bit about that work. It looks like we need to scale that. So that's another thing I'll talk to you about, Mr. Neal, and say the rest of my comments. Just want to put that on the record, too. Thanks.
Thank you. Commissioner Moyer.
I'm always happy to support a tentative agreement that got 92% member approval, but I am sad that this year's bargaining has left our employees feeling that we are not in it together. I don't think that that is solely the result of collective bargaining. I think that there have been many actions from this county, including decisions that have been made during the budget process that added to that. I have real concerns about a road to repair because I think that's really important. I've been part of probably at least 20 collective bargaining processes in one form or another. I've personally been on 3 bargaining teams and 1 reopener as a member, and then as staff of a labor union, played a role in well over a dozen more. And I know that there can be hard feelings. That is sometimes a really difficult part of collective bargaining. But I do think it is still vitally important, particularly with what our community is facing, what we are likely and certainly are projected to face revenue-wise, that we take some time now that we are hopefully on the verge of full ratification to rebuild and reconnect and recommit ourselves to one county. I think we can't change the past. I did not support implementing the unrepresented COLA during the budget process. I thought that that was undermine the collective bargaining process, frankly, in my opinion. I have disagreed with holding non-D harmless while looking at really significant cuts year after year. And I was very vocal about feeling as if there was a significant lack of shared sacrifice between frontline workers and management when it came to position elimination. I also sponsored the budget note related to span of control because this county is facing, and not just this county, I don't want to say that we're in a unique situation. Many local and state governments are facing really an unprecedented drop in revenue while being largely abandoned by our federal government when it comes to funding really, really vital services in our community. And, you know, I have said to our legislative partners and others, you know, you have to grapple with really difficult cuts on paper, and our workers get to see it because we do the work. And that's not to disparage state workers, because many of them are doing that type of work too, but that takes an emotional toll. And so I am very happy to be putting this contract negotiation in the rearview mirror, but I really want us as leadership of the county to go into next year's budget understanding how important it is to be thinking about these very hard choices and how it impacts the people who every day are out there seeing people in crisis, trying to coordinate ever limited services, the acuity that has, you know, really risen in everything from homeless services to aging disability veteran services, and how we can't staff appropriately. We can't fund the things that make that work more doable. And so I am really imploring us as a county to move forward from this, trying to understand that it's not just words at a bargaining table that make frontline workers feel either really valued or really undervalued. It's everything that we say here. It's every policy and BudMod. It's every time we weigh where we're gonna cut. And so I think we all have a shared role in some significant repair as a way of walking through this together with as much thoughtfulness and compassion as we can when there is no road that is not going to be painful. Thanks.
Thank you. Commissioner Singleton.
Thank you, Chair. Before, I want to start by thanking, I know this isn't the entire bargaining team, but you all and the entire bargaining team for what is a ton of work on top of already really demanding jobs. And the fact that you continue to stay engaged and really keep us informed through anything, whether it's bargaining or not. I feel like you all are really helpful in us understanding what's going on for folks on the front lines. So I want to thank you. I heard a couple of things that I do have a question. There's this issue around trial service that came up. Can you help me understand what's going on there?
Yeah, so the new trial service language is in the new CBA, and under PECBA, the guidelines around new contract language take effect on ratification. And so folks who are underneath, who had trial service under the former contract keep that trial service period, and then when this new contract goes into effect, the new trial service period goes into effect.
And so is the only retroactive piece the COLA?
Yes.
Okay. Honestly, my biggest concern out of what I've heard this morning is the culture components that came up. I don't think we need to sit here today and litigate all of that, but I do want to have some follow-up conversations and understand how we show up matters, even though I know that we're coming from a space of you have different roles in that room, but I think to Commissioner Moyer's point, it's not just at that table, but clearly there were some things at that table that I heard culture from a number of folks testifying today. I do appreciate that there was some recognition of things. I think I was one who said to you, like, trial service, what the heck are we doing? Why are we dying on this hill? So I appreciate that that was one of the things that really got shifted. I think I've also shared that I've implemented trauma leave in organizations that I've been chief executive of, so I know that this is possible. I do think it warrants continued conversation because of the type of work that we're asking folks to do, and there are real things that are traumas because of their job. So I do think that that warrants more exploration so that we can really have more thoughtful conversations about it. I do, again, also appreciate some of the work that was shifted around immigration and citizenship leave. I think we'll hear more in our next updates around sanctuary that will likely need additional improvements for that, because I know, I don't think we've heard from everybody about what the actual need is, and there's things around access to Workday and things that they're prevented from doing that they need to be able to do. So I would expect us to have some updated policies for across the county as that work moves forward. I think, lastly, I'll just say, it's going to be really critical to me, and I want to appreciate, again, the span of control budget note and that discussion, but it can't be that's on a shelf until next year. I want to hear in the budget process, as we're hearing reductions, how is that impacting span of control for those departments? I also think that, as we're looking at these years, frankly, of decreased revenue for local community or local jurisdictions, including ours, that we need to be really thoughtful about impacts on frontline staff. That'll continue to be a priority for me, I think, particularly because the folks who are doing the work are the people who are actually really fulfilling the county values and our work as a social safety net. So I know I'm looking at you, but this is for department directors writ large, right? That's going to be a critical component of what we want to hear as we're looking at any sort of proposed staff reductions. So thank you and your team as well for the work, and I do hope that we can have more conversation about how we show up in this space.
Thank you. Commissioner Brim-Edwards.
Yes, thank you. And thanks, Seth and Matt, for the presentation. I want to thank both the teams to coming to an agreement and to AFSCME Local 88 members for your ratification of the agreement. I know from past experience that negotiating in a constrained fiscal environment is very challenging. And it's especially challenging for our employees and their bargaining teams. also want to acknowledge that many hours went in were spent at the bargaining table by both sides, and those were hours that were in addition to the regular work that was occurring. So our bargaining team members on both sides have other jobs, so I really appreciate that. Often when I was trying to reach somebody, it's like, oh, they're at the table. So really thank you for the time that was spent, and acknowledge that that was on top of other work. I'm going to support ratification today, and I'm calling on county leadership to take the comments and critiques that were offered today by the Local 88 leadership and bargaining team members as a call to action to work with our employees and union leadership to work through the issues that were raised. And I also would say the Commission should not consider its work today done by voting to ratify the agreement. While the implementation of the agreement is the chair and the staff's responsibility, commissioners are accountable to continue to elevate the issues that are outstanding and work to try and get agreements, and also to really take the critiques and the issues raised out and try to move forward to find a way that we can move together as one county. I think it will require reaching agreements and working through the union with that, but also clearly thinking about how these culture shifts need to happen, because some of them are very specific tactical changes that are being called for, but others are just broader, are much broader cultural issues about how our employees feel that management on the other side is showing up in terms of respect and in terms of valuing of our employees. And I've been in large public organizations long enough to know that the day-to-day work and the services that our community receives is a result of our staff, and that moving together as one county and operating in a way in which we are reflecting our values are really dependent on our employees and leadership moving ahead together. So I hope you all accept that call to action. Today is not the end, but we have continued work to do.
Thank you, Commissioner. Commissioner Jones-Dixon. Oh, I thought you had additional comments that you had said you wanted to do.
No.
Okay.
No, thank you.
Okay, thank you. So I just want to I know that this was a really tough process. I mean, this is I don't know, I think it's the second, but maybe the third, since I've been here on the board. It's coming up on 10 years. And last time, even though it was in COVID, even though it was difficult, we were in a different financial situation at the county. And so there was more ability and to meet on financial issues and be able to allocate funds. And we weren't in that situation this time. So for me, being able to move on some of those non-financial things, like the 6 months leaves, like some of these things, as well as some of the financial pieces as well, was really important. But I think for me, I am concerned about the feelings that came up during the bargaining, the way that the impact of that on folks when it was by its nature, right? Negotiation is is one side versus another, and that's kind of the fact of it. But there should be respect in this room. There should be acknowledgement of the perspectives that people are bringing into this room, and to know that the impact was that you weren't feeling respected, that you weren't feeling heard, that you weren't feeling acknowledged, is really concerning to me. And this is something that we're going to continue to work on. And I'm looking at Chris Neal here because this is something that we are going to, that we will take on. and work with you on this. And I think that there's a lot of opportunities as we're looking at the One County, as we're looking at some of the work that we have in front of us in terms of the initiatives that are happening to really engage deeper and further. So I want to thank you for all of that work. It was a months-long process. It was difficult. I know. I want to thank Ceci, you and your team, because this was, because it was a big commitment. But this is a really important contract. This is a really important place for us to move forward from. And I just appreciate the work that went in, and you have my commitment to continue this conversation and engagement as we work on some of the issues that were brought up today, as well as some of the continuing issues that folks have. So thank you so much for all of this. Appreciate all the work, appreciate where we are today, and that there is more work in front of us to come. With that, Tasia, can we have a roll call vote?
Commissioner Moyer?
Yes.
Commissioner Singleton?
Yes.
Commissioner Brim Edwards?
Yes.
Commissioner Jones-Dixon?
Yes.
Chair Vega Peterson?
Aye, the agreement is approved. All right. There was a request to do a picture. Is that still? Okay. So we're going to before we go to final board comments, we're going to do a picture, and then we will come back for board comments. So we'll be in a brief recess. All right, thanks, everyone. So we're done with our regular agenda now that we have time for board comments. Normally, I go last, but I have one thing that I wanted to start us off for today, which is just to announce that our board clerk, Marina, is going to be leaving Multnomah County. She and her family are moving across the country. And while we're excited for them and that new chapter and their ability to be closer to family, it is a big loss for us as a board, for the county as an organization. And I just wanted to thank you so much for your, is it 16 years of service? 16 years of service as Multnomah County. You've served for 8 years as our board clerk. You served for 8 years before that as the assistant board clerk, and we can't do this work without you. So we're gonna figure that out. I want to appreciate Tasia Nelson, who's stepping up to take on some more responsibilities and some more work in this, and so we're looking forward to continuing to work with her. She's done an amazing job while Marina's been on leave, and we'll continue to do that as well as we're looking at bringing more resources to help us as we take on the work of the board meetings going forward. But I just want to appreciate you, your kindness, your thoughtfulness, the way that you have always taken care of this board is amazing, and the way that you keep us organized and manage meetings is incredible. And I think that I also want to acknowledge that you came on as board clerk just a few years before COVID, and when we had to switch with COVID to an entirely virtual meeting, which we had never done before as a county. We used to call in on the phone if you couldn't be in person, like people would literally be calling in on a phone line. That was patched in, and you led the work in making sure that we were able to not just run our meetings, but have public input and comment, and getting us up and running in WebEx, and so many things that enabled us to continue to perform our work with the public on that. And you manage so many things, not just weekly, but during our budget process with the public sessions and everything. And Marina, I am just so grateful and thankful for you. And I will miss you personally. I will miss you in this room, but I'm really excited for you. And I wanted to share these flowers, just thanking you for this.
Do we get a full board photo?
Yeah, we'll do. Okay.
And then we do the, I need a board picture.
Yes, we'll do that afterwards. Yes. And then so before we went into other board comments, I just wanted to give folks an opportunity if you had any comments to share about Marina, and then we can open it up for the regular things. Okay, yeah. Commissioner Jones-Dickson.
Yeah, extremely timely, because I just told you last week how much we miss you and appreciate your presence here. So thank you, wishing you the best, as I wrote in the card, in this next chapter, and thank you for all that you've done for just the county and for the board. Like I mentioned, you're like the glue. Teja's been doing an amazing job as well. But congratulations on this new chapter, and take that same energy to Florida.
Commissioner Brim-Edwards.
So Marina, we're going to miss you. For my very first day on the commission, you were helpful to me at just figuring out just like the nuts and bolts of serving on the commissioner, like how things worked here with, at the dais. And I really appreciate that. And I have had the advantage of having two chiefs of staff who've had previous tours of duty at the county. And both of them told me, listen to Marina, because she knows a lot. And she will help you navigate just challenging situations, or be able to answer those questions you have, including the ones that just seem so obvious, but aren't so obvious if you're new here. So I'm glad I took their advice. I say, we're gonna miss you. So best of luck in your new home and your new, whatever the new professional opportunities you have, but you'll always have a place here, and I appreciate everything you did during my term of service.
Thank you, Commissioner Singleton.
I just want to appreciate, I don't know if you remember when I joined the joint office as interim director and was like, what the heck is WebEx? I don't know how to work this. Could not figure it out to save my life. And so just, I think the comments the chair was making about how supportive you were for people to make sure that we could engage during COVID was, I got to experience firsthand, and just really want to appreciate how you show up, not just for us, but for the public and for staff when they have questions. You're just absolutely amazing, and you will be missed.
Commissioner Moyer.
Okay, I don't want to cry, and so I won't. I will miss you. You have been a pleasure to work with. You make this all look smooth, and and none of us are, well, except for maybe the chair, what I call super tech savvy. So I appreciate that. I appreciate how you've done a great job, especially when we're on the road and we're getting public input and rooms are packed and it's crazy, and I always feel like it's all under control. And I am sorry you are packing and moving with an infant. That is hideous. And my thoughts and prayers are with you. I've done that once, and it was just across town. And that, never again. So you will be in my prayers.
Yeah, thank you. So much love to you, Marina, and best of luck for you and your family. The other thing I forgot to say is that one of the things that, both as a commissioner, but especially as chair and running these meetings, that I I really appreciate about you and appreciate because of the way that it helps us show up in public is that you are always going above and beyond to make sure that somebody who has signed up for public testimony like is able to give it, even if they're late, even if they're like virtual and having technical difficulties. Really making sure that the public's voice is heard in these meetings is something that you have done so well, and always checking in, like they signed up on the wrong one, but can we still let them speak? Or and we always try to accommodate that, but you always go to bat for that, and I just really appreciate all of that. So that's just one of the many, many ways that you make a difference for the people of Multnomah County and for the work that we do here. So thank you. All right. So with that, I will open it up for board comments from the rest of the board, and don't forget that we will have a couple photos afterwards. All right. I know, you just go.
Okay. I want to follow up on something I said in passing on Tuesday, but now have filed. I really appreciate the quality of conversation that we had Tuesday related to PFA and, being willing as a board to dig in to these meaty topics about how the county can run the best possible program. In hearing and in preparation for that committee and listening to the TAG, who also brought up the need for a true cost of care review, I'm joining Commissioner Brim Edwards to bring forward a BudMod so that we can get a true cost of care hopefully going and largely complete before we look at potential revenue changes so that we're really have all the information we need and how different proposals or policies might impact that. So that is coming forward, and I appreciate that. And I am also looking, although not yet ready to drop, because I'm looking for input around seeing if we can't do a small pilot, doing some of the inclusion supports that different groups have brought forward. Because I think, I have said this before, and I don't know if the public gets, we're talking about how to do inclusion well because we are the first to do inclusion. And I think that gets lost, and, everything about this is new, and we're learning a lot, and we're getting good feedback. And so, tackling this and doing it well and figuring out how to, support kids and families and providers who have frankly never done this is not a criticism of Preschool for All. And I really want to lift that up because this was such an important policy decision for us to say without equivocation that we will run an inclusive program. And when you're the first, you are flying blind. And so I am looking for opportunities in a small pilot to test some ideas and see what really brings value to kids and families and providers and helps us just do this work better. But it is not a criticism. It's an endorsement of a decision that I was not a part of, but I'm incredibly proud the county made. And we are going to be the trailblazers, and we are going to be who other programs look to. So I wanted to put that out there because I look forward to discussing that, those two BudMods with my colleagues and figure out, how, again, we are constantly looking to make the continual quality improvement to such an important program. Thank you.
Thank you, Commissioner. Commissioner Singleton.
Thank you. So I want to talk a little bit about the immigrant and refugee communities that we have here and throughout the country. This week, PIRC released data regarding the state of immigration enforcement. While we've seen a decrease in detentions, 11 detentions still happened between January 18th and 25th, primarily in Multnomah County, often with ICE asking Portland Police Bureau for quote-unquote protection. I want to remind people that we have lost 9 people who were murdered by federal agents engaging in immigration enforcement. I know many of us are familiar with 2 of these names, but I think it is important to mention the 9 known deaths. On New Year's Day, Keith Porter Jr., a 43-year-old black man who was fatally shot by an off-duty ICE agent outside his Los Angeles apartment complex. On January 3rd, Geraldo Lunas Campos, a 55-year-old father of 4, died at the ICE facility camp East Montana in El Paso, Texas. On January 6th, Luis Gustavo Nunez, a 42-year-old immigrant from Honduras, died in ICE custody at Houston Healthcare in Conroe, Texas. Also on January 6, Honduran immigrant Luis Beltran Yanez Cruz died at the JFK Memorial Hospital in Indio, California. On January 7th, a 37-year-old white American woman named Renee Nicole Good was fatally shot by a federal agent in her car in Minneapolis, Minnesota. On January 9th, a 46-year-old Cambodian man, Parity Law, died while in ICE custody at the Thomas Jefferson University Hospital in Philadelphia, Pennsylvania. January 14th, a 36-year-old Nicaraguan immigrant, Victor Manuel Diaz, died at Camp East Montana in El Paso, Texas. Also on January 14th, Herbert Sanchez Dominguez, a 34-year-old from Mexico, died at the Robert A. Dayton Detention Center in Lovejoy, Georgia. And on January 24th, Alex Preddy, an intensive care unit nurse for a Veterans Affairs hospital, was fatally shot by federal agents during an anti-ICE protest in Minneapolis, Minnesota. I also want to hold space for the deaths that we do not know about. The deaths in the still of the night in the detention centers themselves of vulnerable immigrants who didn't have family here, so their names have not been uplifted, or those who met an untimely death when they were sent to hostile lands, and those reported suicides that we've heard about in our local community of people whose fear around ICE led them to despair. I am happy that today our Multnomah Sanctuary Fund went live, opening applications for the $75,000 that I want to again thank this board for allocating for those who don't hold contracts with the county, so that we can ensure that we're getting dollars out throughout the community for those who support our immigrant community members. I want to again encourage folks to attend Migro Watch trainings, meet your neighbors, make a community safety plan, and reach out to your elected leaders to build a network of support. I want to give a shout out just for some local news. A shout out to Brown Hope, Afro Village, and the Urban League of Portland for having a Remember the Dream event at the Alberta Abbey in my district last night. We had powerful speakers and a firm reminder that activism can bring joy and a grounding of why we should continue to speak truth to power. Last couple of things. The workforce table that I convened, and want to again appreciate Commissioner Jones-Dixon, you and your staff. That report is done. I know you all have received a report. Folks are able to get that digitally. We're working with the trades to look at how we want to prioritize potential investments for our next budget. And then lastly, just to share, and I will provide updates about this, I have the first meeting on Friday of the eviction prevention table that I've convened. It will be looking at not only current state of affairs and understanding data, but also identifying gaps and looking at best and emerging practices in eviction prevention. I'm leading this effort with support from some leading parties like Home Forward. We have a number of our nonprofit landlords who will be in attendance, our service providers who do eviction prevention, including many of our departments. So I want to thank, we have random little pockets of money some places like the health department that you might not think has eviction prevention programming. So all of that we will be pulling together so that we can also share with this board as part of our budget process the scope of eviction prevention work. and what that looks like and how to make it potentially easier for people to access, because just like everything in our homeless services system, it is a patchwork that has been thrown together with various funds and not an actual system that is easy to navigate. That is it. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you so much. Commissioner Bramlett.
Gotta get one piece of information, unless everybody's done. Is everybody done?
Yeah.
Oh, okay, then I'll go ahead. I'll try and, while I'm speaking, just pull up something really quick. First, just a general announcement that, and I'll post additional details, but on Saturday from 11 to 1, Metro, in conjunction with Apano, is holding a community engagement session around the Loan for Memorial, something that the county has been supportive of in the past through its budget and our work with Metro. And so if community members are interested in attending that, again, it's Saturday from, 11 to 1, not 1 to 3, 11 to 1. And then it's at 8188 Southeast Division Street. So hopefully the community can come and engage. So the second topic I want to raise is a significant concern I have about school-based mental health teams. Last year, they were, during the budget process, were slated for cuts in the chair's budget, and the commission restored them through a budget amendment that I offered and was co-sponsored by Commissioner Moyer and the chair. At the time that the amendment was initially offered, there was a goal to achieve increased reimbursement for these services, which is a fiscally prudent thing to do. But it was a goal since we were in the midst of a shift and how that might happen and impacting the teams and setting it up. At the final adoption of the amendment, the COO's office increased the reimbursement goal. At the time, I thought it was very clear the understanding was this is an aspirational goal, not a hard target. It's now surprising to hear that given the aspirational goal may not be met, but of course we're mid-year, that school-based mental health teams are being targeted for mid-year reductions. And I'm really concerned about this. This is counter to the direction set by the commission and should not be advanced. I would hope that the chair and the county management would, if there's going to be a reversal of a commission action, share that with the commission because we were very explicit when we restored them of the importance to them. And it's also, one of the things we heard last year is while the school-based mental health teams operate throughout the county, the place where they have the biggest impact in a positive sense on students is in East Portland and in East County. And because that's where students are more likely to be able to, that may be their only opportunity to access mental health services. We know in other places in the county, lots of students have access to, through private insurance, and their families' health plans have access to mental health services. But for many students, our school-based mental health teams are a critical support, especially we know after the pandemic. One of the biggest impacts, in addition to the academic impacts, was the social and emotional impact on students being in isolated environments, and that's had a long tail for our students. And so I would ask the chair and staff to be transparent with the commission on what's being planned. Again, that was a last-minute change just from the dais. It was not a target of if they don't meet this target, cuts will happen. So I just want to put on the record my concern for that and an expectation that we'll hear from the chair and staff about it.
Thank you so much. I'm sure if there's information to share, we can share more information as it comes up around that. I will say, I mean, and we already know this because we've gone through the state rebalance work. We've had to go through the health department cuts because of Care Oregon and health share funding cuts. And we've all heard the revenue forecast, and we will be getting another one in March, but we are, we are having to look all across the county to manage the changing revenue pictures as we get different information from partners, from the state, from the federal government, and our own revenue forecasts. And there's going to be lots and lots of hard decisions that we're going to have. I've already started my budget meetings with departments. I'm spending a lot of hours a week on those. I will say that every department is bringing forward information about vacancies, about the span of control within their own departments and divisions, as well as all of the, kind of higher level priorities as they're looking at their budget pictures and what's going to be happening. And it is going to be difficult. So we're going to continue to engage in all of that, and we will, share information if there are particular areas the board is interested in, but in terms of like planning for our budget and what's going to be in fiscal year, my budget will be released in April, and then we'll have some really big work in front of us as a board. So I look forward to continuing to work with all of you on that. I did want to, Commissioner Singleton, thank you for talking about the dollars that we're getting out the door for the sanctuary, I'm sorry, not sanctuary, but the immigrant and refugee populations and the support for impacts on federal administration immigration enforcement in our community. We have $175,000 are going directly to our current partners for immediate direct assistance to clients, including legal services, tenant defense, and other client services. And as you said, the $75,000 is going to be distributed through the new Multnomah County Sanctuary Fund through a grant program. So really excited about those dollars being put out into the community for good. I did want to share a massive thank you to Portland Fire and Rescue for their swift response and incredible work at the Albina Library on Tuesday. As you know, Albina Library is one of our newly renovated and expanded libraries. It's such an incredible place. There was some vandalism that occurred. Water sprinklers were set off, and there was water that was released into the new lobby. Our team stepped up, but as well as Portland Fire and Rescue stepped up to help clean and protect the space. They worked very closely with library staff to do that. And because of their aid and hard work, we were able to preserve the beautiful new resource for the Albina community, and the library was able to reopen yesterday without any delay. So I just want to say I'm grateful for our team. I'm grateful for the Portland Fire and Rescue team for all of the work to safeguard one of Portland's most cherished spaces. So thank you for that. And then Commissioner Moyer, thank you for sharing the information about the work that you're going to be doing. I just would want to make sure that you're going to be working closely with the departments, because I know that Rachel and now Denisa are already talking about some of this stuff, and I want to make sure that anything that is already happening is incorporated into some of the things that you would be bringing forward. So look forward to more conversation on that. Thanks, everyone. That concludes today's regular board meeting. There being no further business, we are adjourned. There'll be pictures afterwards. So.